Hello and welcome back to the Craft Mansion. In today's video I'll show you how I built a wrecking time machine. Yes, it's the TARDIS. In fact, I'm from the future and came here to tell you that I finished the project. In fact, here it is. Now, how I managed to fit inside it, I will never tell you. What I will tell you is how I made this TARDIS model. May I remind you that you can find me on Facebook, boom, Instagram, boom, and Twitter, boom. I post progress photos of future projects along the week, and especially on Instagram, I post daily on my story. Update? Now I have 4 Twitter followers, but we can always increase that. I'm sure we can bargain something. Subscribers, I've come to bargain. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribers, I've come to bargain. Casual viewers, I've come to bargain. Subscribers, subscribers, I've come to bargain. Subscribers, I've come to bargain. Subscribers, Dormammu, I've come to bargain. Subscribers, I've come to bargain. I'm pretty sure this is the wrong time travel scene. I started by cutting 2 rectangles of foam board. These were 16.2 cm by 9.3 cm. Then I cut 2 more rectangles. This time 16.2 cm by 8.1 cm, so the thickness of the rectangle is now less. I assembled the basic cuboid shape of the TARDIS. The smaller rectangles go on the inside of the other ones. Just as I finished my first hot glue usage, I guess, my hot glue gun popped. It stopped working, so now I have to borrow my dad's old hot glue gun that constantly drips. So I have to keep it on the stand and hopefully it doesn't run out before I use it. So the final cuboid is 9.3 by 9.3 by 16.2 cm. I reinforced the corners by pouring hot glue on the inside. So now the base is ready, but of course the TARDIS has a lot of details. This isn't a template, it's more of so I printed a picture and then I just copied that picture onto paper just to make the details clearer. So for these details, the panels on the windows, I'm just going to use cardboard. I cut out the windows and the other rectangles from my template. Then I marked this pattern onto all 4 sides of the cuboid. I did the same on a thick piece of cardboard and cut out the parts I didn't need. I didn't trim the edges immediately because I had to measure the cardboard to the foam board, which I did, and then I cut off the excess. Once I had the right pattern, I copied it 3 more times. I poured white glue onto the foam board and then I realized it's better to pour it onto the cardboard because I could get to the edges easier. So I sorted that out and then glued the cardboard on all 4 sides. For the second layer of cardboard, I started with a beam on top. So I marked its margin and then glued a strip of cardboard reaching down to that margin. Running down the length of the 4 faces, there's a strip. So again I marked its margins on the foam board. I cut these strips out of cardboard and then glued them. The last pieces of this layer go on the side. So I marked them and then glued them on. Now of course the box needs a top and bottom. So I started with the top and copied it onto foam board, used some hot glue and put it in place. The third and final layer is only around the edges, so again I marked the margins by starting from the sides. This last layer is also much thicker than the others. On top there's the other cardboard and underneath it is the new cardboard. I cut the strip slowly, it's quite thick, so I had to go over each cut more than once. On one side of each strip I made a 45-degree cut and then refined it with a Dremel tool. These strips form the corners, so each 45-degree cut matches with another one. Then I cut a smaller strip of the same thick cardboard and glued that on. Now sometimes the corners don't exactly match and there is a small gap between the pair of strips, which can be quite noticeable. So I made a filler. I had some cardboard shaving dust and mixed it with white glue to form a paste. Dust isn't always trash. I have foam dust, cardboard dust, fiberboard dust, which all come from previous projects. Now, if you're a normal person and don't store dust, you can fill these gaps with plaster. The roof of the TARDIS is not flat, but has 2 more levels. I made the first one by cutting a square of foam board, 9 cm in length, and glued it on top. I cut 4 small strips of cardboard, and in the middle I cut a little notch, so I could bend the cardboard easily. These strips go on the corners of the foam board. I dropped it by mistake, put some glue on it, and glued it in place. On top of that, I glued a square 8 cm in length. The second layer. To create the sloping groove of the TARDIS, I started by cutting these triangles but with a thicker bottom. I made a notch where I needed them to bend using a pair of scissors. I poured white glue on the sides of the latest layer and glued on the 4 pieces of cardboard. Then I glued the sides together. To make the roof stronger, I poured hot glue into that pocket and continued adding it until it was full. Again, here the edges weren't as nice, so I filled in the gap with the paste of shaving dust. To make the bottom, I marked the corners of the box. That's a funny word. Bottom. 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 Then I glued on the bottom to the box. I had to make the bottom thicker, so I cut a square of foam board 10.8 cm in length and covered its sides with strips of cardboard. I added 2 more layers of cardboard and then beveled the edges. I spread some white glue and placed the TARDIS on top of it. When all the basics were finished, I sealed all of the TARDIS with Mod Podge. The main structure is finished, but of course there are some details missing. There's the bar on top of the public police call box. Is it? Police public call box. Then there's the notice, the police telephone free, blah 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 blah. And that is enclosed in a sort of mini window. So it's a bit thicker than the base foam board. And then of course we have the lamp on top. I only applied 1 coat of Mod Podge because I didn't want it to be too shiny when I applied the paint. To make sure no brown showed from underneath, I painted 2 coats of blue paint. For the police box sign, I started by making cardboard strips slightly larger than the sign. Then, I also marked the frame of the sign and made the frame thicker than the actual sign. I'll explain why later. I sealed the frame with Mod Podge and painted it in blue. Now for the actual signs, the pull to open, the ambulance thing, and the police box, I printed these things so I can easily stick them to the TARDIS. So I cut the 4 black signs from the paper. I glued the sign onto the cardboard and then put a strip of tape on top of it to make it shine. I made sure to not catch any air bubbles by pressing the tape firmly to the sign using a sharp edge. I superglued the frame onto the sign, marked the proper margins, and then cut both layers of cardboard. This is why I made the cardboard larger than needed, so that I could cut both layers together and they would appear as one from the side. I painted the side and then hot glued it at the top of the TARDIS. I did this for all 4 sides. To make the lamp on top of the TARDIS, I started with a strip of cardboard and bent it into a circle. Then, I superglued the ends together. This is the base of the lamp. I hot glued the circle onto the roof and sealed it with Mod Podge. For the top of the lamp, I cut a circle from thin cardboard and made it into a white cone. I made the circle like the one for the base, but half as thick, and glued it underneath the cone. I sealed it with Mod Podge and painted it in blue. Now the lantern, of course, is not complete without a housing for the light. To make this housing, I glued on an uncolored transparent bead. On top, I glued the cone with the cylinder underneath using hot glue. To make the windows as smooth as possible, I didn't paint them, but rather glued on rectangles of white paper. For that mini door, I used thinner cardboard and marked its outline and cut it. I sealed it with Mod Podge, and after I painted it in blue, I glued the white sign to the back of it. This goes only on one face of the TARDIS, the front. The last thing I made out of cardboard were the worst. I had to be careful not to cut too far while making the window panes, and doing the same motion with your fingers for half an hour is quite tiring. But details are details, and when finished, it's them that seal the deal. Even popping them out was really satisfying. I sealed them and then painted them white. Before gluing them, I made sure they would fit, and if they were the right size, I glued them on. I also printed the St. John ambulance sign and cut it carefully. Then, I glued it in the center of the rectangle. This is only for the front side of the TARDIS. The lantern on top is quite shiny, so I applied another coat of Mod Podge after the paint. Now of course, a door has a doorknob, and a keyhole, and this little door has some hinges. It has a little doorknob of itself, so for that I will be using my 3D pen. I haven't used this in quite a long time, so it's a USB. Just gonna plug it into my laptop. Okay, so if I remember correctly, if you continue pressing this... Oh, I have to turn it on first. Okay, let's leave it there to warm up. And I have some colors. And I want silver because the doorknob and the hinges are silver or grey. I don't think I have silver, just have grey. Okay, so now it's blue. There's a bit already cut, so I'll just use this. Is it going in? Yeah, it's going in. And these are the templates I made from the original picture. This one. And I have the doorknob and keyhole, and then the doorknob and the two hinges. Let's just get all the red out of the pen. Ow! That's not good. Nope, nope. And we have ourselves a nice little keyhole. Okay, let's put that there and hopefully I won't lose it. And now for the handle. There is no more filament. 3D printing is essentially like hot glue, but you're printing with plastic instead of hot glue. Okay, so from this whole mess, I think I can get a piece of handle. So I can prop it up on something, I guess. The metal should work, it's cold enough. And there we have a handle. We have this tiny little wootsy handle. And for the hinges I can actually use parts from the discarded piece of plastic. After I finished with the grey, I remembered the lantern also needs some more details. I put in the dark blue filament and printed a thick strip. I cut the handles to the right size by comparing it to the template. Then, I carefully started supergluing the pieces. I glued on the hinges on the left side of the white sign, the larger handle on the right door, the smaller one on the small door, and the keyhole underneath the larger handle. That hole in the middle was really accidental and it worked perfectly. I cut the strips of blue plastic to smaller bits and glued 4 of them around the lantern. Then, finally, I applied some more Mod Podge to make sure that they were really on there and wouldn't easily snap off. And the TARDIS was ready for travel. Through time. Now I've got to come clean. I made this prop for a friend. I have never watched Doctor Who, but I am planning to watch it. I've only ever seen one episode of Doctor Who. At my old school, we used to have a film club, and they showed us the most horrific episode of Doctor Who. Still scares me. But I would like to start it. Just as I would like you to like and comment on this video. If I do start it, you can bet that in the future I will make other prop replicas. And to stay tuned, you can always subscribe right here, and you can also watch some more videos, 2 of which are here. Until then, this is the TARDIS, I'm David, and this is the Craft Mansion.